Hey everybody, this is Mike Chapman, another Mike, also posting here on the Exodus 14 blog. Why Exodus 14? Well, it's about a time in which a people faced a difficult circumstance. Circumstances that seemed beyond their control and ability to cope with. And yet, at that moment, it's when God stepped in. You know it as the time in which God parted the Red Sea so the Israelites could cross over. You know, the interesting thing about Exodus 14 is what immediately follows just a few chapters later. Just to kind of set the context for you, after God delivered the Israelites through the Red Sea, they began to wander through a few deserts. The first was the desert of Shur. And it was at that desert where they ran out of water, they began to get thirsty, and they said, hey, we don't have anything to drink. And so God provided water for them to drink by throwing a stick. As Moses threw a stick into the water, it became sweet and therefore drinkable. And yet shortly after that event, they woke up some days or months later and they were hungry. They didn't have anything to eat. And so then God miraculously provided them food. He gave them quail in the evening and then a flaky, dewy crust in the morning. They called manna. What is it? Well, it was food from God to eat. That's chapter 16. Then we get to chapter 17 where the Israelites leave that desert of Sin, and then upon leaving that desert, they wander about again and grow thirsty once again. You can understand thirst in the desert. It's often like our soul thirsting for things in a dry and weary land. Well, when they thirsted again, they cried out to the Lord and they quarreled with one another. And eventually, God provided drink for them again in the form of water. Water from a rock. And that place was called Marah or Meribah because it was there the Israelites quarreled with the Lord and asked an astounding question based upon what they had experienced. And the question was this. Exodus chapter 17, verse 7. Is the Lord among us or not? Now, can you believe that? Think about what the Israelites had experienced. God had miraculously delivered them by sending 10 plagues on the Egyptians. He had led them out of Egypt as a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. Then he had led them through the desert after delivering them at the Red Sea, providing drink, food, and drink again. And then they had the question, is the Lord among us or not? Well, I'm going to contest that we're not much different than the Israelites. God has done amazing things for us in our lives. And yet it doesn't take too long for us to forget, and we ask that inevitable question, is the Lord among us or not? Well, Exodus chapter 14 was an experience with God, not unlike we have had. But Exodus chapter 17 is an all too common question in our life. Is the Lord among us or not? Well, we don't have to read very far to find this encouragement from the Scriptures in what we call the New Testament. Two that you don't even have to look up, but you could probably quote as well. It's where the Lord says, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. And then Jesus himself said to his believers just before departing this earth, and he would say it to us in answer to that question, is the Lord among us or not? I believe he would respond, and surely I am with you always, even to the very end of the age.